Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Nic and Mike Sebastian with Divine Guidance Institute, Modern Day Mystery School, the ancient way of knowing so you never get blindsided again. Today, we're going to talk all about intuition, gut feelings, and hunches. We're going to give you the tips and the tricks, the things that nobody talks about. And you know what? We have a challenge for you. We guarantee that you have been having intuitive or intuition, however you want to say it, intuitive hunches your entire life, and you did not realize it or recognize it. Today we're going to bust that myth and get you grooving. Yeah, we sure are.
It's all about that gut feeling. Some people call it a gut feeling. Some people call it intuition. And some people can even rap it in a verse. Mikey Mike is my rapper name. And here, I'll kick it off with, I'll just give you one little short verse as opposed to the whole intuition rap song. The ancient way of knowing will keep you from blowing that one big chance that lets you romance your hopes, dreams, and schemes. As we begin to feel that sneaking suspicion when we suddenly realize it's our intuition.
Whoa, now that's cool. And that was only the first two verses. Yeah, folks. He's got a rap song to go with every single book that we've got. Yes, Michael's a poet, and you didn't even know it.
And you know I don't blow it when.
Okay.
All right, enough of Detroit rap, Mikey Mike.
All right. So here we go. So intuition goes beyond intellectual knowledge. Just like when your friend calls you on the phone and you say, "Oh my God, I was just thinking about you," or when you're driving down the road, you don't see any cops. And all of a sudden you sense a cop around you and that little voice says, "Slow down," but you ignore it and oops, you get a speeding ticket. Intuition is truly this. It's knowing something without knowing how or why you know it. And it comes in the form of an image, a nudge, an inner voice, or a feeling. It's an inner knowingness, a subtle vibration at a quantum level that lets you tune in, and one magic word allows you to pick up that quantum frequency that you might overlook.
And we should probably start you out with the hue because that is the way to, it's like a remote for your innate abilities, which is your inner system. And intuition is part of your natural inner system. And we all have it, and it's all running 24/7 on autopilot. That's the cool part. But we need literally to turn it on, just like hitting the remote on your TV, and suddenly there's a picture on the screen. And there's a sound with it and a feeling that goes with it. That's your intuition. So if you're wondering, like, I don't recognize my intuition, try
one magic word.
One magic word goes like this. Hue. H-U, hue, hue. And you'll literally feel that intuition in your solar plexus, in your gut. And it actually turns on your intuition, so you start to expand in awareness, and you start to notice things and pick up on things that you previously didn't really notice, even though they were there. They were there the whole time, but we're kind of, I guess the way to say it is we're kind of asleep. And when we hue, it wakes us up to our intuition.
Yeah, really, I want to go a little further. It's on autopilot. So turning it on, yes, it really turns up the volume on the intuition because it's always running 24/7, as Michael said. But when you use one magic word, it turns up the volume. It cranks that sucker. It turns it on full blast. It's like adding nitrous or, it's like adding nitrous to the whole system. We call it the activator or the ignition, but really it's just cranking that volume. Things you overlook, well, you're not going to be overlooking them any longer. You start using one magic word, as Michael mentioned, hue, H-U, hue. You can do it out loud or silent, eyes open or closed. You can do it while you're doing the dishes, while you're in the shower, or while you're in the company of others. This is what is so cool about one magic word. And it's the shortcut. It truly is. So it'll turn everything on. It'll activate it, and it'll bring your level of discernment to a whole nother, level, actually.
And it's, you could call it a form of reading the fabric. And like Nicole mentioned, it's a vibrational thing, which is why the hue turns it on. It's a quantum physics. In quantum physics, they state that literally everything in the known universe is simply a vibration. It can vibrate at a 1 or 100,000 or a million or some level of frequency all the way in between. And it produces a different feeling and a different picture that comes in when we tap into that vibration. And it's really, really cool because it can come as a feeling or it can come in as a snapshot, a picture. And I used to get pictures sometimes when I remember I've always used my intuition, and I didn't really know what it was. I just knew that I'd get a feeling. And when I used to be a professional poker player for many years, put myself through undergrad, grad school, law school with the stream of revenue from poker. But I was such a good poker player because watching the different people at the table, a lot of times I'd be looking at a person's cards, which were turned over. I couldn't see them, the other person's hand, and I'd get a quick flash of 2 sevens. They have 2 sevens in their hole. And I'd go ahead and bet based on that, or else drop out of the game based on that. And I would usually always be correct, be right. And I was tuned in at the time because I was totally present and I didn't have anything on my mind. It was clear. And I was picking up on the vibrations of what that person, they probably were looking at their hand and they saw the sevens and it went out in a vibrational pattern. I picked up on it, and it's called an intuition. I'll get a flash or a picture. Sometimes I would get a feeling on like I got a good feeling on this hand. They'd be dealing the cards, and I knew I was going to get a winning hand. And sure enough, they would deal me a straight or a flush or sometimes 4 aces. And I knew it was coming. And I'd go, yes, I could feel it. That's my intuition. So it's something that we can use all the way from playing poker to, should I move to a new city? Is this person the right person to be dating? How does it feel? Does it feel right? Or does it not feel quite right? In which case I'm being told or nudged to stop and reassess before I can go forward in that relationship. It's really that simple. That's how intuition works.
Hey, so here, this is really cool, guys. So I'm on the phone with a client of mine yesterday. Well, actually, it was the other day, and I asked her, hey, did you ever find out about da da da? Yeah, I don't want to give too much information away because things are totally confidential. But anyway, I asked her about an item in her house and if she ever checked it out. And she said, no. Oh my gosh, I forgot all about it. She goes, I don't even know where I put it. And I said, and then she said, oh, wait. Yes, I do. It's in a box. And I said, when you go home, I want you to check to see if it's in the box. Because if so, I want to see how spot on your intuition is. This is, as we work with clients, we get quicker, we get stronger, faster, the memory, all of your tools, your innate abilities. It's like lightning fast. It's like Jedi Knight action. So that's what I was most curious about, was to see if her intuition was right when she said, oh my God, it's in this box. I said, well, check when you get home. And so anyway, yesterday she checked. Sure enough, it was in the box. It's where she had a vision that she put it. Now, this is the cool part, and this is what we're talking about. You all have had intuition your whole life. Okay, that's your innate abilities, but it's been happening and you did not realize it. And that is what we're talking about today. This is the biggie right here. So when you're having a conversation, you're just pondering something, wondering about something, and you get a flash or an image in your mind that came from out of the blue, that is intuition at its finest. That is intuition at its highest. In other words, you're just like la 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 la, and then you have a flash, a vision, an image. That's your intuition, and what you can do is then you check it out. You investigate it. You confirm it. Was it on the money or not? So sure enough, she had a vision as we're talking about this object in her house. She has a vision of where it is. At the moment, she's just sitting there, and out of the blue, she sees it sitting in a box. Sure enough, when she checks the box, there's the object she was wondering about. So, what we want you to do is when you have an image pop in from out of the blue, and that's a key. Out of the blue, you've heard it your whole life. Oh, that happened. That's out of the blue, and that's out of the blue. Do you know where that really comes from? Out of the blue refers to Holy Spirit. Out of the blue. Your higher colors, if we're going to talk about auras, which we're not, but your higher, finer colors are your yellows and your whites and your blues and your purples. So that saying, out of the blue, is really talking about from the universal fabric, or your higher self, or Holy Spirit, or God. Semantics here, whichever your belief system and whatever wording you prefer is just fine. The bottom line, that's what out of the blue refers to.
So you could say that God wears a blue hoodie, and Nicole's right, and that's where out of the blue really comes from. And it's in other words, it's a good sign, it's a good feeling, it's a good nudge, and right on the money as far as left brain, right brain is really what we're talking about here, and that's why as we begin to use it, maybe you're not sure if you're really following your intuition, or was that your intuition, or was it paranoia? No, that's a thought that comes right behind intuition. It comes from the brain. It comes from the head. It's the left brain. The right brain is your intuition, your feeling, or even a visual image, a snapshot that'll float in suddenly out of nowhere. Maybe sometimes the phone will ring and I'll get a gut feeling as to who it is. And maybe I haven't talked to them in 5 years. And I pick up the phone and sure enough, it's them. How did I know? It's like a knowingness. And I'll say, whoa, I just knew that was you. And that's intuition. It comes in that vibrational fabric. And then we get to verify it. And that it is important to, when we get an intuition, especially if you start to play with it, you can consider it a game. Call it any doubt, no doubt game. When you have doubts about something, it's our intuition saying, put it on hold, stop for the moment, reassess. So then you can write it down in a journal before going forward, then go forward and see how it works out. Maybe my intuition advised me not to take the freeway. Although the freeway is wide open, look great, no reports with problems. I get on the freeway 2 miles down, there's a huge jam up, and suddenly I'm sitting there for an hour. If I'd have followed my gut feeling, my intuition, I would have taken the side streets and kept cruising, but I ignored it. So journal the intuition and play with it and see. Pretty soon we get very, very quick. It's the same as anything else. When you first start shooting basketballs from the foul line to see how many you can make, maybe you only make 2 out of 10. But if you keep playing and practice every single day, pretty soon you'll be making 7 or 8 out of 10 from the foul line. And that's how you test intuition. It's no different. As we begin to use it as an internal tool, suddenly we get much faster at it, and we notice it also more quickly. We're awake and aware to those vibrations coming in, and it will. The good news is, I can tell you, it will warn you. Literally, if there's anything coming that's dangerous or something you should absolutely avoid, I always get a feeling of, it doesn't feel right. There's a feeling of something's off. Maybe I don't know exactly what it is, but I will stop and reassess and ask myself, what was I going to do? Well, maybe I shouldn't do that. And when I go back and look as to why, maybe the next day or a week down the way, I see exactly why. And I followed my intuition, and it saved me from
getting blindsided or burned. Hell yeah, getting blindsided or burned. You were about to say the word hardship.
Yep.
So here's the cool stuff, guys. And this is many, many, many years ago, when Michael, this is the best, here's a great story of, intuition and intuitive insight. The first day of class, Michael was my sociology instructor, and we're sitting in the class waiting for the teacher to walk in on the first day, and he walks in, and he's got on his hiking boots and his blue jeans and his flannel, and he looked super cute, and he's standing there, and my intuition, the bells went off, the inner voice was screaming, this is the one, he's the one, soulmate, 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 you're going to marry this guy, you have a mission. Like, all of this craziness went on when he walked into the room. After he leaned against the chalkboard, and the minute he had a ball in his hand, he was like, tossing the ball in the air. And that was within the first 5 minutes of him walking in the room. And like I said, the inner voice was screaming, and I couldn't even contain it. And keep in mind, he was twice my age at the time. So this whole thing is crazy, out of the first minute I see him and I'm going to marry him, and and he's my teacher and he's twice my age. It's like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, I remained quiet and I contained my emotions. I did run home and I told my roommate, Heather, I said, Heather, I'm going to marry this guy. I'd marry him in a minute. She thought I was nuts. And, and anyhow, we ended up, I waited till the semester ended, and then I asked him out. Then we did lunch, then we did dinner, then we were engaged in 90 days and married in 9 months. That's the other story. We're not going to get into that today, but, and some of you have already heard that story. Nonetheless, but I'm just bringing it back to that intuition. Sometimes it comes through as it's screaming so loud, your inner voice, and other times it's real subtle. It's an image that comes in from out of the blue. So there's variations on intuition. But as Michael was talking about, tracking your data, there's nothing more important than tracking your data. And this, and so why should you even bother, as Michael just mentioned, avoiding a hardship, not getting burned or blindsided? I mean, this stuff is in the news. It's in the headlines every week. I was blindsided. They were blindsided. She blindsided me. I got scammed, etc., etc., etc. And what we are here to say and to share with you is, when you use these other tools, these innate tools that are on autopilot 24/7, dreams, signs, and intuition, that's when you no longer get burned or blindsided. And on the occasion, it still happens, you had a vision or a hunch ahead of time, and it softened the blow. So, and I could give you a million stories about that, and I guess we really should share a few stories here to give you a good feel. But I'm going to turn it over to Michael for a minute.
Yeah, and it's I got a story for you, but just so you know, following your intuition, when things are really meant to be, and there is a meant to be, like the right course that is meant to be. When you're on the smooth road, you're headed in your right direction, and things feel good. We will receive a strong inner knowingness when they're meant to be, accompanied by a feeling that is also known as intuition. The feeling may be one of serenity, possibly it could be one of exhilaration, or maybe extreme calm comes over us. This indicates the right direction and accurate course of action. In other words, we should go that direction. It's interesting, when I first got to Vietnam, in country, waiting to be assigned to some company up in the northern part of Vietnam. I was in the southern part in a holding camp, and I ran into a captain in the infantry, and we got to chatting, had supper together and stuff over at the mess hall. And he said, "Hey, I want to make you an offer. You're in the artillery, and I think you'll be assigned probably up north somewhere, but at a fire base. And which is where everybody's stationed. They got the big guns there. And he said, why don't you come with me into the infantry and I'll have them redo the orders. I'll have them cut new orders for you. So it's authorized. And you'll be in the infantry for a while. But then he said, I'm going to be working with Judge Advocate General Office, JAG, they call it in the Army. And you get to do some legal stuff, travel around country in choppers. And he said, you will be out in the field in the infantry for a while also. And all my buddies said, don't do that because you're going to get shot. It's the Big Tet Offensive at 69. A lot of firefights out in the field. However, it felt completely right. It felt so right. This guy felt right. His vibrations, what he was saying, felt on the money. And I got that nudge, that inner feeling, just do it, which I did. I said, sure, I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go. And looking back, it literally saved my life, where I ended up with the captain up north in a place called Pleiku. I actually avoided getting shot where I would have been in the fire base had I been gone there in the artillery. I really sidestepped the disaster and the danger by following my intuition. And I've always made a really good point of it in my life to check intuitively how I feel about it. Does the path feel right? And if it feels right, then it is right. And if I have doubts about it, like, I got some doubts about this, we call it, Nicole and I call it any doubt, no doubt, which means any doubt means no doubt. Don't do it. Don't go forward. Just put it on hold for a minute, reassess it with the data, the outer data. You're supposed to take the left brain, right brain, put them in combination, 50% and 50%, you end up with 100%. You're unbeatable. Trust me. You can make the right decisions. I don't care what it is in the stock market, make millions of dollars, choose your soulmate, get a career in some city that people have never heard of. You can do whatever you want because you're running on that 100%. You've got all the data and you've got all the inner abilities and knowledge. When you put them together, it's off the scale. Not many people know that. The left brain, right brain are meant to be combined. All they're running on is that data, looking outwards with the eyes, listening with the ears, and they don't know anything about the inner listening, the inner knowingness of intuition, the other half of the equation. And they always wonder why they're getting blindsided. And it's because they're missing the other half of the equation. So there you go. I am very, very grateful for my intuitive abilities.
Heck yeah. And you didn't even know you had them. And there they went. So here's a process real quick. Use one magic word every day. If we could say nothing else, start using the HUE. One magic word, one step therapy. Just say HUE, whatever you want to call it. Start using that technique every day for even 5 minutes. It's going to just amplify things and accelerate things automatically. Plus, it's also going to help with stress and anxiety and nightmares and depression and anger and any of your addictions or your afflictions, your serenity and your peace. That's why we call it one magic word, literally. So just add that and all kinds of things are going to start shifting for you. So that's number one. And as far as like the intuition, as Michael said, you can track it, you can play with it, ask a question, see what comes in, see what answer you get, see what's response rather from your higher self that you get, and you take note, you track it. Start tracking your data and turn it into a game, really, when you're hanging out. Just notice what things come into your mind when you're wondering about something. That's the key. I wonder. Those words are a key, but not just that. When you're just sitting around wondering about something, that's when your intuition is always going to come in the form of an image. Real subtle. So just kind of notice these things is really all we're saying. And then, see how things turn out. You don't make life and death decisions. You just kind of track your data and notice. And then over time, you're going to see you were accurate. Your higher self, your intuition was spot on, you know, each time. Then you're going to get confident. Then you're going to get comfortable. Then at some point, you will start relying on your data. So you ask the question, I wonder, or you just start thinking about things and you track your data, then you verify it later. And you can even play a game to develop your inner knowingness. We call it the I wonder game. Yeah. Like when the phone rings, I wonder who's calling, and see without looking, if you had it right, if you knew who it was. Or I wonder which team will win the game, before it starts, before there's data and scores. Or I wonder if I should take the surface streets or the expressway, or, this type of stuff. This is how you can gently, lightly start exploring, playing with, and, manifesting, working with your intuition, your gut feeling, and getting really, really good at it. Really good.
And like Nic says, it's important, I think. I previously, a long time ago, I didn't think the words specifically I wonder had to be used, but I did find out, at least for me, when I say I wonder in playing that game, or I just wonder about stuff all day long, and I want my intuition to provide me the right direction or the answer, those words of I wonder seem to trigger that vibration of the intuition. So I would recommend trying to use the word I wonder. And we call it intuition as part of, it's part of that larger process called the ancient way of knowing. So, here's my little rap. The ancient way of knowing will keep you from blowing the signs along the way, so you never stray from the one true way, intuition.
All right. So we started the podcast with a little rap, and we ended the podcast with a little rap. Very good, Michael. All right, now let's see here. Okay, so simply, as a challenge, just start noticing things. Start noticing those images that come in out of the blue. That is your intuitive insights. Track your data, pay attention. Oh, and the law of silence applies. Let's talk about that for 2 minutes at least. The law of silence. There's an actual spiritual law of silence. Yep. And what does it mean? Well, it just means to be quiet about the things you're working on, about the things you notice, about the things that you're wondering about. Everyone has a bias, an opinion, a motive, an axe to grind. So when you practice the law of silence, you gather all your data from yourself and your higher self inwardly. Because when someone else says something, it'll immediately create doubt within ourselves. And that's one thing you do not want to do. You want to steer clear from any doubt. So when you're experimenting with the tools and when you're experimenting with your data, you keep it to yourself. Your results will increase exponentially. The way to even think about the law of silence is you've got, let's say, Michael likes to use a ball of yarn. I like to use, in the little example, I like to talk about clay. Let's say you're going to do a pot and you've got so much clay. Well, you've got so much clay for your pot, but the minute you start talking about stuff or sharing things, it's like giving away your clay. So you don't have as much material to build the thing you were going to build, or to create the thing you were going to create, or to manifest the thing you were going to manifest. So, stay quiet even when you want to share it. And you'll know, even with intuition, there's a right time to share it later. It might be in a month, it might be in a week, and it might be in a year. There's a right time to say it. And here's Michael's favorite. Once you say it, you can never not say it. So always be quiet. And then if you want to say it later, you can. He always says you can't take two things back. What are they?
Bullets and words. once you bust that cap, you can't take it back. And words are the same way. Once we say it, it's out there. It's like that ball of yarn. I always see it as you pull one thread and I say something about it for a minute or two, what I've just learned inwardly, and suddenly the yarn is dramatically reduced by the amount that I said. So if we want to keep the power, the vibration of what we're doing, we want to keep it within us. Don't share it with a lot of people. It's nice to be able to understand and see the universe and have the right path in front of us, but it doesn't mean we need to tell others about it. You know what that is? That's ego. And sometimes it's not, but it's generally going down that road. And we want to hold that fullness. And the less we speak about it, the more power we retain within ourselves. We give it away when we talk about it.
Well, hold on. Now you just mentioned that, so now I've got to say something. It's not just occasionally ego, but it's also doubt. The reason we talk or share things, we want to get confirmation from others. And that's the whole point of this whole thing, is like, only you know when you're in love, right? Like, I can't tell you, yeah, you're in love. Or Scooby-Doo down the street, or your grandmother. No one knows if you're in love but you. And you can't explain how you're in love, or how you know you're in love, or why you're in love. You just know you're in love, and you know when you're not in love. Intuition and knowingness is the same way. And we're going to leave you with that right now. And hey, remember, if you want to get a hold of us, or you want to donate to the nonprofit, or you want to join the mystery school or get coaching, or you want to get our books so you can do it yourself, just go to the website, trustyourselfsystem.com, trustyourselfsystem.com, and you can connect and do all those cool things from there. Oh, yes, you can sign up for the free newsletter. And we've got a new course coming out soon. Probably it's going to be a month or two. A badass one magic word course. So we'll talk more about that in the near future. Anyway, have a good day, guys, and talk soon.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. And remember, intuition is the real magic. Have a good one.